Grand Theft Auto 3, considered by many as a landmark title that not only redefined 3D open world games, but gaming as a whole. And while I'm not here to argue that the game wasn't influential and groundbreaking for its time, I will say that in the 2 decades following its release, it's definitely aged, and not for the better. I know someone might hear that and think, this game is literally old enough to drink, no shit it's gonna have some issues. And while there is some truth to that, at the same time, I've played plenty of games from around the same time that GTA 3 came out, that have aged significantly better. Halo Combat Evolved released like a month after this game, and I think most would agree that it aged better than GTA 3. I've also heard people call Grand Theft Auto 3 Rockstar's magnum opus, and I really don't know how one could arrive at that conclusion when their groundbreaking, award-winning, groundbreaking Rockstar table tennis is right there. But anyway, given that I've never played Grand Theft Auto 3 up until recently, I thought it'd be interesting to give my first impressions of the game, after I got it alongside some other PlayStation 2 games. This video is by no means an in-depth analysis or review. Again, just some first impressions after playing a game for a few hours. So with all that said, let's get into it. The game opens with a bank heist and a player character getting backstabbed by their girlfriend and essentially being left for dead. Not long after though, you get busted out alongside another inmate who helps you get set up and get some work. The player is pretty much left to roam around the world as they please after that. If there's any praise I can give to this game, then it's definitely its relatively short intro, as the opening sequence can literally be completed within 5 minutes. Then again, this isn't the type of game where a whole lot of exposition is required anyway. Unfortunately, it's soon after that where you start encountering some problems with a game, mainly in its controls. The best way I think I can describe them is to compare them to the tank controls of Resident Evil Code Veronica. In that game, they use semi-fixed cinematic camera angles that sometimes span or track the player as they move across the screen. This is a bit similar to how the camera functions in GTA 3, where if the player starts moving in a certain direction, the camera will follow. However, the camera in GTA 3 is still insufficient in fully giving a player a good grip on their surroundings while moving. You can't simply flick the right analog stick while walking to quickly turn around. No, instead you have to manually stop and reposition yourself, while the game disorients you by changing perspectives. This in itself isn't that much of a big deal when you're just like walking around the world, but proves to be a pain in the ass when you're in combat. Also, while we're still on topic, I'm sorry, but if you use inverted controls, you have a mental illness. Who genuinely thinks to themselves, oh, I want to look up, so let me press down on the fucking thumbstick. To be fair, a lot of games on console from around the same time also came with inverted controls by default for some reason, but in most of those games you could at least turn it off. The same cannot be said for Grand Theft Auto 3, however, as the sick fucks at Rockstar have it on by default, with no option to turn it off. Anyway, when you're not walking around, then you're likely to be driving. And just like walking around, you can't simply use the right analog stick to look around while driving. However, you are given some button shortcuts to view the vehicle you're currently driving from several different angles, alongside some different camera modes, though I never really used them much, as I found them pretty disorienting. And I know some people gave shit to Grand Theft Auto 4 for its driving controls, but something tells me those same people have not played GTA 3, as driving cars in this game feels like pushing a fucking dilapidated fridge through a skating rink on roller skates, with some of the world's most slippery controls I've ever seen in a game. I know that someone will hear me say that the vehicles feel like pushing a fridge. Well then surely the vehicles must have some weight or durability to them. Well, you couldn't be more wrong, since the fucking cars feel like they're made out of styrofoam. Literally, a minor fender bender will cause your front hood to come off, and the smallest bumps into objects will cause your car to start smoking like it's a grill that's being primed to cook up a fucking barbecue on the 4th of July. If you fucking sneeze too loud, the car will explode. I don't know what it is with the lampposts in this game, but they're all either made out of aluminum or reinforced fucking titanium. No in between. Now, to the game's credit, the open world itself is fairly detailed. There's plenty of distinct architecture and other small decor like posters on walls that help make the world more lived in, especially with a good number of NPCs just walking around. I know by today's standards this isn't that impressive, but I can imagine this aspect of the game was pretty groundbreaking for its time. There are also stores, though granted you can't go into like any interiors, aside from like the gun store. Though this isn't really an issue with the game itself, and more so with like the technology limitations of the time. I mean, most modern open world games don't even have interiors, so take that as you will. All in all, I think the game does more than enough to sell its own setting as being believable, especially with its use of ambient sounds, such as sirens in the distance or planes flying overhead. Again, all great things that make the game feel more immersive. Well, that is until the Rose decide to call out of work and take a sick day, as they phase out of existence and next thing you know, you're driving through the fucking fabric of reality itself. You know? Somehow these roads are still better than the ones in New Jersey. Now, when you're not fucking around in free roam, then you're probably doing the missions. And unfortunately, much like the rest of the game, I didn't like this aspect of it either. I think the primary issue with them comes down to the writing and the player character. You see, Claude, the guy you play as, is a silent protagonist. Now, I'm not saying that a silent protagonist in itself is a bad thing. In a game like Fallout, it works extremely well since part of the appeal and core experience is creating your own character that you can attribute a unique personality and set of morals to. Now, while that works great in a role-playing game, in a primarily action-driven game like Grand Theft Auto 3, this is not the same. In other Rockstar games like Grand Theft Auto 4 or Red Dead Redemption 2, the protagonists add a lot to the experience. They have their own core personalities and sets of morals, which are extensively shown throughout the story and missions of both respective games. Compare this to GTA 3, where the main character just kinda gets talked at. He's kind of just given missions like he's picking up somebody's fucking dry cleaning. Meh, go steal a guy's fucking car and strap a bomb to it and watch it explode. Meh, go pick up one of my hookers. Meh, go drive with some sleazy mechanic so she can give him an under-the-table fudge job at Denny's.
Am I gonna get to play with your big hands again?
Compare this to a game like Red Dead Redemption 2, where the protagonist, Arthur Morgan, is pretty much the enforcer of the gang. So when he's given something to do, he knows he's pretty much the only one who can get shit done. Now, that's not to say he just does it unbegrudgingly. In fact, he complains quite a lot. Compare this to GTA 3. There's no banter from the protagonist that adds levity or humor to the game, or any dialogue that makes his thoughts known on the situation. No, I'm not saying that the protagonists in Rockstar games are purely for comedic purposes. In the case of Arthur Morgan, a lot of his character deals with themes of shifting loyalties, self-reflection, and redemption. Or in the case of Nico Bellic from Grand Theft Auto 4, where his character is used to explore dealing with a traumatic past, as well as disillusionment of the American dream.
What do you think about America, Nico? Tell me straight. You love it, no?
I don't know, Roman. It is the same as any other place, only louder. People don't know how to shut up here.
You don't like it? The lights, the titties, the food, the opportunities? Come on, Nico, it's kind of incredible.
It's stupid. Everything is just advertising with nothing to back it up. They tell you you're eating the best burger ever, and you believe it until you're sweating out all the chemicals in it, and the hormones are making your balls feel funny. Everything else is fake too. The titties aren't real, and the opportunities aren't opportunities at all. To seize them, you end up in so much debt that you'll be a slave for the rest of your life.
Again, GTA 3 has none of that, but where the game really loses me is in its horrendous combat. Like mentioned previously, you can't just look around while moving. Instead, the game has you hard lock onto enemies when you have a weapon equipped, that you can cycle through using the triggers. Now, this system sucks for a variety of reasons. For starters, it seems like you can never fucking focus on the enemy you want to actually kill. Say for instance, if there's an enemy in the distance that has a gun, and instead of prioritizing that enemy, the game will auto-lock onto the nearest enemies, so that'll leave you open to get picked off from the distance. Half the time, the game will just fucking randomly target random civilians just walking by. And God forbid there's enemies that are like behind you, because there's no fucking quick turn in this shit. You will literally get your shit beaten as you're trying to turn around. So if there's an enemy around the corner or just out of sight, you're automatically at a disadvantage, since the AI doesn't need to reposition itself and can just fucking shoot you. And what makes this all more frustrating is the fact that the player will die very quickly, and every time you die you have to go manually pick up all your fucking weapons again. This is ultimately what killed the game for me, and what leads me to my conclusion. While Grand Theft Auto 3 has a short intro without any exposition dumps, and a relatively impressive open world for its time, the game suffers heavily in its gameplay, whether it be the terrible camera controls, the slippery driving in cardboard vehicles, the bland and uninspired missions and writing, as well as the horrendous combat. All leads me to believe that GTA 3 is an extremely outdated game. And with that, this video comes to a close. If you agreed or liked anything I said in this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Or even if you disagree with me, I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments below, whether it be pertaining to this video or the game itself. With all of that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.